Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the Washington Commanders franchise here on Madden NFL 24. And today, the Commanders have their bye week, yes, all the way in week 14. I did simulate through the bye week just so I can show all the updated stats and stuff. But since the Commanders are on their bye week, I thought this would be a good time to take another quick little look around the league, especially since every team in the NFL now has only 4 games to go in the season. And with us probably not going to make the playoffs, it's a good little chance for us to see where we sit going into the final stretch and maybe think about the future of this team. So if you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. Currently, our Commanders sit 5-8, and we did just have our bye week. So actually, first thing we'll do is go ahead and take a look at the games of last week just to see what happened. As here are the week 14 scores. Patriots beat the Steelers. Buccaneers get a big win. Bengals lose to the Colts. The Bengals were the 1 seed in the AFC. Jacksonville gets a big win. Saints get a nice win over the Panthers. Jets smoke the Texans. We face the Rams next week. They lost to the Ravens 20-13. The Raiders go down. They were the last undefeated team in the NFL, and ever since then they have really struggled since they took their first loss. 49ers dominate the Seahawks. The Bills beat the Chiefs in a very good matchup. Allen and Mahomes put it together, it looks like, again. Broncos get the win. The Eagles smoked the Cowboys on Sunday night. That's a big game for the Eagles, as the Cowboys are the best team in football. Dolphins get the Titans. They bounce back after losing to us, and the Packers beat the Giants. As far as players of the week, we'll take a look at that award real quick. As for the AFC, it was Breece Hall of the Jets, who had 146 yards on the ground, 2 rushing scores. And then Mapu of the Patriots had a sack and 14 tackles. While on the NFC, Baker Mayfield of the Bucks, he had 4 passing touchdowns, so he gets NFC offensive. And Fred Warner gets NFC defensive with a hat trick in the interception department. So that is a look at the players of the week and the score. So we'll take a quick look at how the playoff picture looks now. And you can see right off the bat a little bit of a change in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills now have the top spot in that conference. The Bengals are the 2. Raiders are still the 3, followed by Titans at 4, Ravens at 5, Chiefs at 6. And then the Dolphins are back in the 7 slot. On the NFC, it's the Cowboys still number 1. Number 2 is the Vikings, 3 the 49ers, 4 the Falcons, and then the wild cards are the Eagles, the Saints, and the Lions, who are now sitting at that 7 spot. We'll take a look at the standings around the league currently, as we'll start off in the AFC. We'll start off with the best team. So the Cowboys are the best team, followed by the Bills and the Vikings. And then the worst team is the Bears. And if we had picks 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right now we're sitting with the number 9 overall pick. But going by the divisions, in the AFC North is the Bengals and the Ravens, who are tied at 9-4. While in the South, the Titans have a 1-game lead over everybody else. A very tight race. We'll have to take a look at that one going down the stretch. AFC East is the Bills, who are pretty handily out in front by 2 games over the Dolphins and the Jets. While the West, the Raiders are still clinging on to that top spot despite losing 5 in a row after starting off on an 8-game winning streak. In the NFC, the North, the Vikings, they sit at 10-3, 3-game lead over the Lions. In the South is the Falcons, with a 1-game lead over the Saints. The Panthers and Buccaneers are still in firing range. And then in the East, the Cowboys, with a 2-game lead, still the best team in the NFC. And then out West, the 49ers have the top spot. They're pretty close to clinching. So that's how it looks like in the division races. We'll take a look at the stats now for our team and some of the league leaders to kind of just be the main portion of this episode. Team stats real quickly. We're 6th in offensive yards and we're dead last in defensive yards. Yes, we know our defense is not very good. Some of that can be attributed to getting used to All-Madden, but they just haven't played good overall. 5th best scoring team, and then dead last in points allowed. So that's going to be our main focus, I would say, going into the offseason, is how can we fix that defense. Start off in the passing game. Here's our quick look at Jacoby Brissett. He's passed for 3,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. I know Brissett got off to a very slow start, but I think ever since he really started to cut the interceptions down, he has played a lot better. So if you go through his season stats, I mean, early on he was throwing interceptions, 5 in the first game, then he didn't have any, and then he had 2, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 3, the big Patriots game, but he's had 2 in back-to-back weeks. So when he throws an interception, he kind of throws them in bunches. But if you take those away, I think he's actually played pretty well. I mean, 3,100 yards in the air. I mean, he's in the top 10 in the NFL. And then on the rushing, he's added 5 on the ground. So I think Brissett has been a good bridge quarterback, which is what his player tag says. And going into next year, will he be the starter? I don't necessarily think so. I don't know if Sam Howell is going to be the starter, though. I know he hasn't played a lot this year, but when he has played, he hasn't looked that impressive. He's completed 57% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Need to see a little bit more out of him, maybe in the preseason next year, but maybe we see him down the stretch if we get officially eliminated from the playoffs. But we'll have to see, though, what this position looks like going into next year. It's obviously the biggest story of 2024. In the ground game, Antonio Gibson has really standed out. He is broken out. He is now a superstar running back. He's rushed for over 1,100 yards, and he did get the 4-year contract extension, so he is a running back of the future. He's only the 34th best in the league, but I expect that to go up now that he has that superstar dip, and I think he will get a big bump at the end of the season because he has played absolutely sensational. Now we have 3 guys who have 5 rushing touchdowns, him, Brissett, and Brian Robinson Jr., who's kind of taken a back seat because of Gibson's breakout season, which is unfortunate because Brian Robinson Jr. is still a very talented player on only his 2nd year in the league. He's a good power back, he's a good change of pace. Maybe in the offseason we look to see if some team wants Brian Robinson Jr. Or maybe we just lighten the load a little bit of Antonio Gibson because he has carried the ball a lot. And we did just see in the last game he did get hurt with a turf toe. Robinson Jr. had to fill in. He didn't do as good, but I mean he's a good change of pace back. So maybe we just ride the 1-2. We'll have to see going into next season. Receiving wise, it is basically Terry McLaurin and everybody else. He has over 1,000 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin is without a doubt the number 1 receiver on this team. Superstar X Factor, a top 10 receiver in the league. And I mean, why not throw it to him all the time if you have him? Give the ball to your best playmaker, and that's Terry McLaurin. Number 2 in the receiving game has actually been Antonio Gibson, who has the most receptions, but only has 496 yards and 2 scores. Logan Thomas has played better in recent games. He's got 39 catches for 451 yards and 1 touchdown. Tight end position is something that I'm thinking about upgrading in the offseason. Logan Thomas is not getting any younger, and he's a good, I would say, number 2 tight end at this point in his career. He's a good catcher, not very good in the blocking though, but I think for 2 tight end sets, Logan Thomas would be really good, but I do think we might need to replace that position. Curtis Samuel's a free agent after this season. He has missed some time. He's only played in 10 games, and he hasn't looked that impressive in those 10 games. He had a good game against Miami last week, but he's only caught 38 passes for 379 yards and 1 touchdown. And with being a free agent, I don't know if I want to give Curtis Samuel the contract after this season. Jahan Dotson, the 2nd-year guy out of Penn State, has not had a good season, to say the least. He only has 372 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he has dropped a good fair share of passes this season. I need to see some more out of Jahan Dotson next year because this year is looking kind of like a sophomore slump. Our backup tight end this year, John Bates, has 16 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown. He's an okay backup tight end, but with Thomas maybe being in that spot next year, maybe he kind of falls off a little bit. De'Ami Brown's been hurt, but he's looked good when he's been on the field. 9 catches, 141 yards, and 1 touchdown, but he has been hurt for a little bit. He will be back in the Rams game, so maybe we get De'Ami Brown back involved in the offense. Dex Milne has been also very good in his limited snaps. He had a very good game a couple weeks ago where he has 9 catches for 116 yards on the season. He's a guy that maybe in preseason next year could fight for a slots position, but I do like what we've seen out of Dex Milne so far. Cole Turner, the 2nd-year tight end of Nevada, has played good in 3 tight end sets, 6 catches, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is that 3rd tight end. I think he could actually hold on to that spot going into next year because he actually has been very good on those bootleg plays, giving Brissett kind of like a check down tight end. And I like Cole Turner. He's a 65 overall. He's still very young though, but he can catch the football. Don't expect him to block anybody though, but other than that, Cole Turner does the job. Brian Robinson Jr. has 52 yards receiving as well, then a couple of other catches for DJ Turner and Jaret Patterson. Blocking wise, who has been the worst blocker? It has been Sam Cosmi, who's allowed 9 sacks in 13 games played. His job, he's still the right tackle, but we do have Wiley, who was paid a lot in the offseason to be a backup tackle. So if Cosmi struggles, maybe Andrew Wiley can get some snaps down the stretch. Charles Leno has also allowed six sacks. He had a very rocky start to the season. I think he's kind of settled in a little bit. He's been very good in run defense as well. So he's kind of settling in. He's on a 2-year contract, so he will be with us next season. Middle of our offensive line has not been as good. They haven't allowed as many sacks, but they haven't been as good in the run game, I would say, despite Gibson being very good at running the football. I think he's just a good vision running back, but I do think we can upgrade the middle of the line with Sadiq Charles at left guard. Stromberg has kind of taken over that center spot over Nick Gates in recent weeks, so I think he's good to go. And then at right guard, Braden Daniels has had a little bit of trouble staying healthy, so I don't know how much you can count on him full time. He is a rookie though, so he's only going to get better, but I just hope that he stays on the field a little bit more. On defense, our leading attacker is Jamin Davis, who has been our best linebacker because the defense has been a very sore spot, specifically passing defense, and part of that's because the linebackers have been very, very bad in pass coverage. I think Davis has been, adequate, but Cody Barton, on the other hand, he's a very good run stopping linebacker, and he has broken out to star deb this year with 11 tackles for loss, but I think in pass coverage he is a little bit of a liability. So one of my top priorities this offseason is to find another nickel linebacker. Maybe let Davis and Barton play in base packages, but then let Davis and a other linebacker play in pass coverage, because Barton has not been good in that position. As far as tackles for loss, Jonathan Allen leads the way with 16, followed by Chase Young. Our defensive line is still a very talented defensive line, but I don't know if there's really been that many games where they've all been healthy. Either Jonathan Allen's hurt, or Chase Young's missed some time, Montez Sweat's currently out, as well as Daron Payne. I mean, we rarely get our 4 best defensive linemen on the field at the same time, which is a little bit of a shame because they're our most dominant unit, but that's just the way it works sometimes. Allen has been a game wrecker when he's been on the field. So is Chase Young. He still is not signed a long-term extension, though, so I've been a little hesitant to give it to him just because of his ability in staying healthy. And he only has 2 sacks on the year, which is very, very low for Chase Young. I'm thinking about giving him the franchise tag and just kind of letting him ride out one more season. But, I mean, I'd like to see him. I like the run game numbers, but I need to see a little bit more in the passing game. Speaking of sacks, the leader is Daron Payne with 6, and he's going to actually miss some time, as well as Montez Sweat. So our top 2 sack leaders are actually on the injured list. Casey Tula has 3, which is more than Chase Young, which is showing how much Chase Young has really struggled in the passing game this year. Allen has 2, and as well as Fidarian Mathis, who is also a star defensive tackle, by the way. Going back to tackles, we also have at the safety position Cameron Curl, who's played okay this season. He's missed a lot of zone coverages, and that's kind of my fault, to be honest, but I expect a little bit more out of Cameron Curl. And then I think Jatavius Martin has also done a very good job, the second-round rookie out of Illinois, since we did trade Derek Forrest to the 49ers earlier in the season. I think he stepped in pretty well as a free safety, and I think he's got that spot going forward. Interception-wise, we have 2 for Curl, 2 for Kendall Fuller, who has been our best corner by far this season. Kendall Fuller has killed it defensively, and I think we did give him the 2-year contract extension last episode. I think that was the right call. I maybe would have preferred a 1-year deal, but I mean, Fuller has shown that he is our best corner, and I think we do need him for a little bit longer. Emmanuel Forbes has been pretty good on the other side, the rookie out of Mississippi State, our first-round pick this year. He's given up a couple of plays, but he is only a rookie, so I think he's going to get better, and he's going to be one corner we can count on in the future. Nickel's been a little bit underwhelming. Benjamin St. Juste has played that position a little bit, and he does have an interception, but he has given up some big plays in the slot. Same thing with Diamador Lenore. He was the guy we got in that Forrest trade with the Niners, and I like him, but I do think these two need to kind of prove themselves going into next year at the nickel position, especially since our pass defense is one of the worst in the league. On the kicking side of things, Lai has been pretty good. He's only missed 2 extra points and 1 field goal. And then Tressway has been, pretty good as a punter. We do have 1 kick return touchdown. It was Antonio Gibson. Punt, though, we do not. As far as looking around the league quickly, see who are the league leaders in the NFL in their respective categories. Passing-wise, it is Patrick Mahomes now, who has 3,500 yards. He leads the way, followed by Joe Burrow with 34, as well as Tua Tagovailoa rounding out the top 3. Then you got Kirk Cousins at 4, Prescott at 5, Ritter at 6, Aaron Rodgers at 7, and then Jacoby Brissett is 8th in the passing yards leader, and then Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson round out that category. Touchdowns leader is Joe Burrow with 29. He's making a very good case for MVP, followed by Dak Prescott with 27 and Aaron Rodgers, who only has thrown 2 interceptions this season, having a very good season out there in New York, trying to get them to the postseason. Interception leader is Mac Jones. It is not Jacoby Brissett. It is Mac Jones, who has 17 interceptions, 13 touchdowns. It has not been a good third season for the Patriots quarterback, which wonders what his future looks like in New England. The ratio is a little bit better than it was earlier in the season, but still very bad. Russell Wilson also has 16. Then is Brissett with 15, but so does Bryce Young, the #1 overall pick, and Desmond Ridder. On the ground game, Saquon Barkley leads the way with 1,300 yards, followed by Josh Jacobs. Ezekiel Elliott out in Tampa Bay signed a 1-year contract at the beginning of the season. He's been a very good halfback for them. Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and then Antonio Gibson. Your rushing touchdowns leader is Isaiah Pacheco, the second-year man out of Rutgers, with 16 on the ground for KC. Jonathan Taylor has 15, followed by Josh Jacobs with his 14, Aaron Jones 13, and Saquon Barkley with 11. I think Barkley and Jacobs are two players for Offensive Player of the Year this season, especially if MVP is probably going to go to like a quarterback like Joe Burrow. Receiving-wise, your receiving leader is Tyreek Hill. He has 1,117 yards. We did a pretty good job, I think, of guarding him last episode, but he's just such a big play threat. I mean, 14.5 yards per catch is pretty crazy. Justin Jefferson also has over 1,000. He's second, followed by Chris Olave, and then Terry McLaurin is in fourth, and then Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs round out the 1,000-yarders. Receptions leader is Justin Jefferson. He's the only one with 100, and he leads it by a lot. Gibson's actually second with 81. Your receiving touchdowns is Tyreek Hill with 12, CJ Uzomah, the Jets, Tyler Boyd, and Zay Jones, the other ones with triple digits. Blocking-wise, the worst in the league is Andre Dillard, who's given up 12 sacks. Defensively, I mean, Davis leads the way in tackles, followed by Barton and Curl. Just shows you how much we play. I have thought about maybe turning down the clock a little bit. I like to play on 15-minute quarters, but I mean, I do think we play a little bit too much games and it is throwing off the stats. Hence why our top 3 players on defense all lead the league in tackles. So it's just something I've thought about. Tackles for loss is Myles Garrett with 26, which is absolutely absurd, despite he only has 5 sacks, which is pretty crazy. Your sacks leader is Micah Parsons with 13.5, followed by Matthew Judon, Max Crosby, and Von Miller. Interceptions leader is Darius Big Play Slay out in Philly, who has 5, Fred Warner with 4, Savage with 4, Jalen Petrie with 4, and then we have Matt Milano and a bunch of other guys who also have 4. Xavier Collins, 3 of them were against us. Kicking wise, is there anybody that's like still automatic that kicks a lot? I mean, Fairbairn's 100%, as well as Graham Gano, while Sly is kicked way more field goals than anybody else, which is not necessarily a good thing. And then there are still a lot of kickers who are automatic at extra points. Punting wise, there's been a couple of blocks, it looks like, around the league. And then kick returns, any touchdowns, Gibson and Calvin Austin the third of the Steelers. And then punts, I know there's at least one. Yes, it is a Dory Jackson who had it against us. So that'll do it for the episode for the most part. Is next episode we will take on the Los Angeles Rams, 2 teams that are 5-8, which is basically a playoff eliminator game for both teams. Not that we're probably going to make the postseason anyway, but I mean, we have an outside chance. But I think whoever loses this will knock themselves out. And I think we have a very good shot at winning this game as long as we can stop that man right there, Aaron Donald. So here's a look at the Rams team we'll take a look at real quick. Despite winning a Super Bowl just a few years ago, this Rams team is very, very in need of a shakeup. I mean, you got Stafford at quarterback, but he is only getting older. Cam Akers at running back is a good young player. You still have Cooper Kupp, but other than that, I mean, Van Jefferson, Demarcus Robinson, they haven't really done anything yet. Tyler Higbee's an okay tight end. The offensive line, though, leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, nobody is even close other than Rob Havenstein at being in the 80s, and he's 31. On defense, I mean, you got Aaron Donald on the line. There's not a lot there other than Donald, though. So I think we can really take advantage. And I think we can also take advantage in the back half of the team. There's no Jalen Ramsey now, so there's really not much. And they're missing Jordan Fuller at strong safety. So I think it's a team that we could definitely take advantage of, get some points on the board as the offense has really been clicking recently, and just flat out win in Los Angeles. So that'll be coming to you guys next. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.